won't work. The primary solution the NRA offers, armed security in every school.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Critics pounced.
The NRA's blanket call to arm our schools is really nothing more than a distraction.
New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg called the NRA statement a shameful evasion of the crisis. Earlier, in an interview with ABC News Nightline anchor Cynthia McFadden, Bloomberg put some of the blame for gun violence at the feet of the gun lobby. The mayor wants what he calls reasonable restrictions, a ban on assault rifles and high-capacity magazines.
Our society finally has woken up and says we are going to do this whether you like it or not.
As for putting armed security guards in schools, some authorities support the concept of more police there, but say there simply is no money to do so on such a huge scale. While the NRA suggested some of the work could be done by volunteers, the Wall Street Journal estimates it would cost $6.7 billion. And will it work? In some cases, perhaps. But at Columbine, students were killed despite the fact armed police were there. Two of the nation's biggest teachers' unions today were sharply critical of the NRA's proposal. Cynthia, one union said the NRA is delusional.
Thanks, Pierre Thomas. And now to the wrangling over the fiscal cliff, sending shockwaves across America's 401ks. The Dow closed down more than 120 points, with the deadline just 11 days away, and lawmakers heading home for the holidays. And shortly before we came on the air, the president came out swinging with a message for Congress. ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl tells us where things stand tonight.
In the halls of Congress tonight, not a creature is stirring, no deal is in sight. With a deadline looming and seemingly no hope anywhere, the president made one last appeal tonight before Washington goes on vacation.
As we leave town for a few days to be with our families for the holidays, everybody can cool off, everybody can drink some eggnog. Now's not the time for more self-inflicted wounds. Certainly not those coming from Washington.
But the two sides don't even seem to be trying anymore. What are we going to do now?
I'm interested in solving the major problems that face our country. And that means House leaders, Senate leaders, and the President are going to continue to have to work together to address those concerns.
Speaker Boehner says the only way out is a deal that cuts spending and reforms the tax code. But even he seemed to suggest that is virtually impossible now.
How we get there, God only knows.
Boehner attempted a so-called Plan B last night, a bill that would have extended tax cuts for everybody except millionaires. But his own plan was rejected by his own party in the face of opposition from conservatives unwilling to see taxes go up on anybody at all.
Let me get this straight. You won't even support raising taxes on people that make over $1 million a year?
I won't support raising taxes on any American.
People that make $10 million? Absolutely.
So, John, with the president heading to Hawaii tonight on holiday and Congress already out of town, how do they come to a deal before the end of the year?
Well, Congress is going to return 2 days after Christmas, so there is some time, a little time, really just a few days for them to try to do what they have failed to do for months. As for the president, although he is going to Hawaii, he did say tonight that he will fly back to finalize any deal, if there is a deal to be finalized, sometime after Christmas and before the New Year. But, you know, Cynthia, as you know, it takes time to pass an agreement, even once an agreement is reached.
We shall see. Thank you, Jonathan Karl, reporting. And one more note from Washington. Today, President Obama nominated Senator John Kerry to succeed Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. Secretary Clinton, who is still recovering from a concussion, was not there, but in a statement called the pick excellent. You'll recall President Obama's first choice for the job, UN Ambassador Susan Rice, withdrew her name amidst a firestorm of questions about the tragedy in Benghazi, Libya. And now an update on that unbelievable prison break. 2 convicted bank robbers behind bars in Chicago scaling 17 stories with a rope made out of bed sheets, then impossibly hailing a cab to freedom. But tonight, a new twist. ABC's John Shriffen has our story.
He pulled off a daring escape from prison, but now Joseph Jose Banks is busted, appearing in court this afternoon after nearly 3 days on the run. the FBI arresting him late last night in Chicago.
Yeah, it was kind of scary, but I thought they'd go far away.
We now know both accomplished bank robbers. Joseph Banks, seen here on surveillance video, broke out of this high-rise federal penitentiary in Chicago using sheets and towels tied in the form of a rope, even stuffing clothes in their beds in the shape of bodies. The cellmates were last seen in prison at 10 p.m. Monday during a head count. Overnight, authorities believe they broke the window of their cell. It's still a mystery how they shimmied out of a hole only inches wide and scaled down the side of the building 17 stories. Banks is now back behind bars, but for Connolly, the hunt is still on. John Schriffen, ABC News, New York.
Here at World News, we've been asking everyone to make this a Made in America Christmas. Each of us spending just $64 to create up to 200,000 jobs. Well, tonight, ABC's David Muir has the story of one item that a lot of people are buying and help save one American company.
Hi, David, and happy holidays.
Celia Milton of New Jersey saw that story we did on the American Inventor and his bionic wrench.
For only $19.99.
They sold more than 200,000 wrenches with Sears last Christmas. They kept doing business this year. Then suddenly, no deal for this Christmas. Did you wonder what was going on?
Oh, of course we did.
But then Dan heard from a customer who noticed something, telling him there was now another wrench with what appeared to be a similar mechanism on the shelf at Sears, but this one made in China and sold under the Sears brand Craftsman. In fact, side by side, listen to the old ad.
Because it grips on all 6 sides.
Now the one for the new wrench.
The 6 locking jaws.
Or this part of the pitch. Before,
it's 14 wrenches in one.
And now the Craftsman wrench.
It replaces 14 wrenches with a single tool.
When he told us he was surprised Sears didn't order more to sell for Christmas, our viewers ordered instead.
Look at this baby. This thing is great.
Miranda Bowe buying 2 for her father and her grandfather.
Hopefully they're not watching.
But the viewers were sure watching, and after that report, 3,000 wrenches sold.
Made in America!
And it's not just The View here. The line outside the studios of The View is forming, and they've come from all over America.
How are you?
Some had a hunch why we were there.
Did you all pick your one thing, Made in America?
Of course.
Same question we were going to ask the women of The View.
Here we are, waiting for the elevator here. We're going to go up to the dressing room to find out their one thing, Made in America.
Down the hall and into their dressing rooms.
Hey, Whoopi. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Surrounding Whoopi, a sea of shoes. And her one thing for Christmas?
I got these.
A pair of sidewalk boots. Made in America.
In every corner of the country, they're still making things.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Made in America.
Good to see you, baby.
Sherry Shepard is next. She said she's got her one thing, Made in America. Sherry
is shopping for her newly rescued dog, named Ashley. She's buying doggy toys from Rough Dog.
100% superior grade rubber feeding toys made in the USA.
Made in the USA. That's right, baby.
Then the countless viewers who found American toys from Connects. The toy company's so happy tonight.
Hi, David. This is Stephanie Popkowski from Newark, Delaware.
Her one thing
is a surprise for my husband, Anthony.
A veteran U.S. Marine in Afghanistan with the State Department.
And I was trying to figure out, what do I get him for Christmas that's made in America? And I got it. There's nothing more American than a Ford truck.
She spent her $64 all right.
Merry Christmas, David.
Made in America, indeed. Our David Muir reporting. Those gifts will likely be making their way across the country with the help of FedEx and UPS. But we wondered, what about Santa? What would it take to deliver one gift for each child around the world? Check out these numbers. The delivery companies say it would take 46 international distribution centers and 12 million workers to make the magic happen. And that sleigh hauling 760 million pounds of presents, delivering 9,000 a second. It would take 300 747 planes to carry that much. So, good luck to Santa. Tonight we have a new clue about one of the biggest mysteries in the Bible, the great flood in the story of Noah's Ark. ABC's Christiane Amanpour went back to the Holy Land with one of the world's leading underwater archaeologists, Robert Ballard, the man who found the Titanic on the floor of the ocean. And he says there is scientific proof that the great flood did happen.
Our journey to investigate the story of Noah and his ark led us to the banks of the Black Sea in Turkey, where we heard that tantalizing clues were being uncovered by Dr. Robert Ballard, one of the world's leading underwater archaeologists.
All right, let's get closer down. We talk about the floods of Ark living history. boy, they don't compare at all to the floods of ancient time. The question is, was there a mother of all floods?
Ballard thinks there was, and he's testing a controversial theory that the biblical flood happened here.
Why the Black Sea? Well, because the Black Sea appears to have had a giant flood, and people were living there.
The theory goes about 12,000 years ago, much of the earth was covered in ice that began to melt. Then, when the Mediterranean swelled,
at some magic moment, it broke through and flooded this place violently.
And 400 feet below the surface, Ballard believes he's found proof of that catastrophic event.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
They unearthed an ancient shoreline.
Well, we actually dated it, about 5,000 BC.
And that is about the time that the Bible says Noah and the great flood happened.
When people read the story, they say, well, did it cover the whole planet in water? No. But it covered their world.
Christiana Manpour, ABC News, New York.
And finally tonight, all week at ABC News, we've been searching for solutions to gun violence in America after the tragedy at Sandy Hook. And we've been talking every day about how to keep our kids safe. Well, tonight, 2020 anchor Chris Cuomo went back to his old elementary school and talked to some children about their ideas on violence.
The real monsters in the world are just regular people.
4th and 5th graders take on the tough questions that grip our nation.
Why would he do that? When did he get the urge to do it?
Why does it help you to know why he did it?
If it's happened, something made him do it, then you can stop that from happening to another person, making them do it again.
And listen to what they say about guns. Are guns bad?
Not always.
It's not bad.
Guns can be good or bad depending on who's using them.
Is the answer no guns?
Not exactly.
Let's say I go in there today and say, I need a gun, man. Sell me the gun. Should I be able to get it right then?
No. You should limit the amount of bullets that can be in a gun.
What do you think is a bigger deal with why this happened? That the gun or the culture of violence?
The culture.
It's hard to change culture, isn't it? But as for violent movies, video games, and music, they say the problem is the user who plays video games. Now, when you see those things, does it make you want to do those things to regular people?
Oh, no, it's just a game.
And you don't believe that the game changes your mind?
I don't think the game is the problem. I think the person who's playing the game is the problem.
And the controversial idea of armed guards in every school? For these kids, not so controversial.
They could maybe hire people to walk around and watch what's going on.
Armed guards?
Yes, so it actually makes me feel safe.
And if that doesn't work, George may have the best solution of all.
A time machine.
Time machine.
Go back in time and try to stop what would happen. And then you would have like a shield, a very strong one, of a holographic one that could deflect bullets.
These kids' minds were filled with fantastic ideas, but also a solemn prayer.
This should never have happened, and that all life is irreplaceable.
Chris Cuomo, ABC News, Queens, New York.
Listening to the kids. Good night, everybody.
In the meadow with the snowman will pretend.
This is World News, and tonight, go time. The president, the governor, the first debate. The pressure is on, and we have the inside story. What each man is planning to do tonight. Suspicious skies, yet another American Airlines emergency landing. Impatient passengers are doubting their pilots.
Is this a scenario that they created, or was it real?
Outbreak, peanut butter, and salmonella. Tonight, a patient takes you hour by hour through the illness.
I really didn't know what was happening to me, and I was like praying.
How to know if you have the flu
or something else? And anyone got chills?
I got chills, they're multiplying.
Did you know this is the most popular duet in history? See what these two are getting ready to do next.
From ABC News, World Headquarters, this is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer.
Good evening. As we come on the air, President Obama and Governor Romney are preparing for the Super Bowl of politics. 60 million Americans expected to watch the first debate tonight. And it is one of those nights that can change history. We want to show you the stage right now at the University of Denver in Colorado. It is standing by, awaiting the candidates. 34 days until your voice, your vote. And the ABC News political team is right there in that room. David Muir and Jake Tapper, ready for the opening round to begin. So, David, start us off.
Diane, good evening from the debate hall here at the University of Denver. You can see the stage here behind me. Everything planned right down to the minute tonight. President Obama will enter from the right. The governor from Massachusetts, Governor Romney, entering from the left. But to give you an idea of the intimate setting here, about 1,000 people inside this debate hall when it starts. Look behind the cameras tonight. We're inside a hockey arena that normally seats 8,000, but they've created this very intimate setting as tens of millions watch from their living rooms tonight.
When President Obama and Mitt Romney walk onto that stage tonight, it'll be the first time they've met face-to-face in 4 years. Last time, during the presidential race in 2008, during those back-to-back Democratic and Republican presidential debates during the primaries, when candidates from both sides were called onto the stage, it was then Senator Obama and Governor Romney who were huddled talking. They have spoken by telephone, the president reaching out to congratulate Romney when he clinched the Republican nomination. And there was this moment in 2007, a Labor Day parade in New Hampshire.
Let's mark it.
Good luck to you today. You bet. But tonight, they will shake hands in front of millions watching before debating each other for the first time in a format that is more freewheeling, no strict time limits for answers, creating an environment in which the two will be able to challenge one another. Every detail here set for tonight, both campaigns flipping a coin. The president will be introduced first. He'll get the first question. The Romney campaign winning the toss on closing arguments. Governor Romney will get the final word tonight. Even a coin toss over the wives. Mrs. Romney will be introduced first. Both wives playing the role of debate partner from their seats. Mrs. Romney telling CNN it's been her most important role during the campaign.
It's a cute thing that he does almost after every answer. He finds me in the audience. As soon as he gets on stage, the first thing he does is he takes off his watch and puts it on the podium. But then he writes Dad.
Romney's father, the one-time Michigan governor, who also ran for president. And the First Lady acknowledging her own nerves.
I get so nervous at these debates, and, you know, I'm like one of those parents watching their kid on the balance beam. They're just standing there, just trying not to, you know, have any expression at all.
Advice that comes on the same day, they mark something else.
This is from me to you, honey. Happy 20th anniversary.
They will likely mark their anniversary with a private dinner after the debate tonight. Sasha Malia back in Washington. They have school tomorrow. Several of the Romney boys will be in this debate hall. And one more thing I wanted to show you, Diane. We took this image today, tweeted it out, and take a look at this. It's the debate prep you don't typically see. Wet paint was the sign up on the debate stage in these last 24 hours. We checked it out for you before we came on tonight. The sign's down. Everything's all set, ready to go.
Painters frantically painting. Thanks so much, David. And as you know well from covering the campaign, these two men are by definition built to withstand pressure. Each known as a formidable debater, but tonight it will be pressure like no other. They have to bring their A games. And ABC's Jake Tapper now tells us about each candidate's biggest move. Jake.
Good evening, Diane. That's right. These are two very experienced debaters with more than 50 presidential primary and general election debates between them. Though they have their weaknesses, they both have considerable strengths. As President Obama touched down in Denver this afternoon, he brought the experience of 22 previous presidential debates, primary and general election, with him. We've seen him draw upon his command, being able to make a bold pledge.
If we have Osama bin Laden in our sights and the Pakistani government is unable or unwilling to take them out, then I think that we have to act, and we will take them out.
And we've seen him tap his reservoir of righteousness to make a strong attack.
You said we knew where the weapons of mass destruction were? You were wrong. You said that we were going to be greeted as liberators. You were wrong.
Tonight will be Mitt Romney's 36th presidential debate, but his first as nominee. His team is hoping he'll show the agility we've seen him display.
If people are looking for someone who will discriminate against gays, they won't find that in me.
When's the last time you stood up and spoke out for increasing gay rights?
Right now.
As well as his ability to jujitsu, to forcefully use an attack against his attacker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not anti-immigrant. My father was born in Mexico. My wife's father was born in Wales. They came to this country. The idea that I'm anti-immigrant is repulsive.
And Diane, take a look at this picture that the Obama campaign sent out. It is from 4 years ago in Oxford, Mississippi. Then Senator Obama preparing for his first presidential debate against John McCain. Both candidates right now, Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, no doubt very nervous. I'm nervous just looking at that picture. Diane?
Okay, Jake, I will see you tonight for the big event, and I want to bring in co-anchor of Good Morning America and anchor of This Week, my co-anchor tonight, George Stephanopoulos. Such a night after this long road. What are these two men thinking right now?
Probably exactly the same thing. Tonight, don't take the other guy's bait. Play your game. But there is more pressure on Mitt Romney tonight. You look at the polls right now. He is behind nationally, probably behind even more in the battleground. So he needs a circuit breaker, and he probably has to do something that gives people who say right now they're voting for President Obama to give him a second look.
So give all of us a kind of viewer's guide to what they're prepped to do. What do we watch for tonight?
Watch for it. Almost every time Mitt Romney gets a question, he will try to turn it back to President Obama's record and make President Obama bear responsibility for the economy right now, not let him evade it. Mirror image for President Obama. Every time he gets a question, he's going to try to focus it on Mitt Romney's plans, Governor Romney's plans for the future, and say, listen, we may not be in the best shape right now, but it's going to be even worse if we implement his plans.
So each of them will be pivoting?
Each time. But here's the thing, and both sides don't really know what's going to happen tonight because, as David pointed out, this format is so loose. Once they get into the discussion, almost anything could happen. They could directly challenge each other. Jim Lehrer could come in to moderate, directly challenge them, but they really don't know.
It is going to be such an exciting night, and a reminder that George and I will be right here with you and the ABC News team ready to react, analyze, and fact-check. One-on-one, the candidates debate, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. And we move on now on world news because we have two developing stories from overseas. Tonight in Syria, in the city of Aleppo, the commercial equivalent of there in New York City, 4 car bombs killed nearly 40 people. Eyewitnesses described what felt like a series of earthquakes. Giant buildings flattened, and here, a square before and after, you can see there, reduced to rubble. And in Iran, something we rarely see, clashes in the streets of Tehran as hundreds of protesters take on their own government, outraged over the collapse of the Iranian currency. It has taken a nosedive in the past week, down 40%, and that is a record low, and that is proof, economists say, the tough sanctions by the U.S. government because of Iran's nuclear program are taking hold. And now we turn to a headline that sounded impossible to us today. Word of yet another American Airlines flight forced to land, passengers bracing for impact. In the end, the landing gear came down, but some suspicious passengers are telling us they actually wonder if pilots and other employees are negotiating their labor disputes from 30,000 feet. ABC senior national correspondent Jim Avila put that question to a pilot who believes in his former airline.
The Dallas Operations Center, where American Airlines struggles to manage delays twice as severe as its competitors, and one airborne emergency after another.
Emergency at this time. We're coming back into Dallas.
Nerve-wracking for some passengers, now suspicious that each new delay, each new crisis, may be somehow self-induced.
Are they really heroes, or are they guys who are just creating a job action?
Former American Airlines pilot John Carr says pilots would not go that far. But it's clear, he says, that despite union denials, pilots are using their ultimate power in the cockpit to delay flights.
I think there's enough things that could be written up on aircraft. You know, you have a very complex machine that's being operated, and there's always going to be some little thing or something that's not quite right.
If true, a tactic that seems to be working for pilots. Today, union and company back to the bargaining table for the first time in months. Jim Avila, ABC News, Washington.
And now the peanut butter recall. So many families still asking us, if your family has eaten peanut butter, How do you know when you're out of the woods? When can you stop worrying? And what exactly are the symptoms? How do they progress? Tonight, for the first time, a parent whose child was sickened by tainted peanut butter speaks to ABC's Steve Osunsami.
8-year-old Nate LeBron says it felt like he was going to die, all because he ate out of a jar of peanut butter his father bought from a Trader Joe's grocery store.
It felt very painful. The stomach cramps, I was screaming loud, and I was saying, why does this happen to me?
He's one of 30 confirmed salmonella victims so far. Families should know that symptoms show up usually within 3 days. It was a terrible scare and started Saturday, August 25th with classic symptoms parents should look for. First, painful stomach cramps, then a severe headache, a 103-degree fever, dysentery, and by Monday morning, he was vomiting too. But he was now bleeding. Doctors couldn't figure it out, and on Wednesday, he had to be hospitalized. His fever didn't break until Friday, and he was already home when the test results came back the following Tuesday. Salmonella breadii, a unique strain linked to the recalled peanut butter.
How frightened were you by all this?
It's our child, it's our baby, you know. I don't think any parent would want to be in that position.
I thought this was good for you. But I've been eating peanut butter, that kind of peanut butter, before I got sick almost all the time.
Which he never thought would hurt. Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
There is something fueling more than 6 million jobs tonight, something that reminds us that American quality is second to none. ABC's Sharon Alfonsi takes us inside a home, which proves that a growing middle class is ready to buy made in America, and not just here, around the world.
Remember the Usseries? The Dallas family who let us take everything out of their house not made in America, and then were shocked to see this vase was all that was left? Well, meet the Campos family. They have a big surprise for you too.
Made in America, made in America, made in America.
And guess where they are? 1,120 miles south of the Usseries in Mexico.
Welcome to Mexico.
Antonio, Sandra, Carlos, and Tony Jr. are part of Mexico's new middle class.
This is my son's favorite peanut butter.
So what's behind Mexico's love affair with all things American?
When I see made in America, I'm thinking big. What do you think?
Quality. I think quality.
Quality and big.
Just a generation ago, 12% of Mexico's population was middle class. Most were in poverty. Today, over half are considered middle class. That's more than 70 million strong. And they're scooping up American-made products. $198 billion worth just last year. Doubling in just a decade. So those 6 million American jobs are tied to feeding that market. A market that loves that American produce because it's bigger.
Look at the size of the grapes, the quality is very good.
Our batteries, they last longer. And the variety of all our beauty products.
Sharon, this is my favorite American product, and you have to get it.
And we noticed this at the Costco in Mexico City. Family after family picking up American-made baby wipes. They're actually the top-selling product here. But what was so special about those wipes? The Mexican brand was cheaper. So we went to the factory in Orangeburg, New York to find out.
A typical product that's on the shelf in Mexico is very weak. I mean, it hardly stays together. This is the Costco product, incredibly strong. Everything about this product is way better than what is currently available in the Mexican market.
Which is why the Campos family keeps buying American.
Haagen-Dazs.
They shared their shopping list with the Usseries.
Looks just like our grocery list.
Two families 1,000 miles apart with a shared appreciation for 3 little words.
Made in America!
A nice pack, the company that makes those baby wipes. They've just hired 250 new employees and are opening a new factory in Arkansas. Again, 6 million jobs in the U.S. now tied with trade to Mexico, and that number is expected to grow in the year to come.
And 70 million in their middle class ready to buy. Okay, great, Sharon. Thanks so much. And finally tonight, the big debate is coming up. And as we know, everyone will be on the lookout for those key moments defining the candidates. But as we've seen in previous elections, it's not always the actual debate we remember. It's sometimes the parody, the impressions, the jokes. And ABC's John Carl shows us the perils.
I can't. The third one I can't. Sorry. Oops.
Some debate moments just don't need late-night comedians to be memorable. For the rest, their Saturday Night Live.
Let me just sum up. On track, stay the course, 1,000 points of light.
Governor Dukakis rebuttal.
I can't believe I'm losing to this guy.
Over the years, the SNL parodies have sometimes been more memorable than the debates themselves.
Of course. Okay, because I practiced a couple zingers where I call you Joe.
When you think of Palin facing off against Biden, you're probably most likely to think of this.
John McCain and I, we're a couple of mavericks. And gosh darn it, we're going to take that maverick energy right to Washington and we're going to use it to fix this financial crisis.
The real Al Gore was so stiff in his first debate.
I will put Medicare and Social Security in a lockbox.
His staff made him watch this.
One of the keys to the lockbox will be kept by the president.
The real John McCain wandered around the stage when he debated Obama. And so did SNL's McCain.
And first I thought
the parodies aren't just funny, they can matter.
As many people will talk about the SNL skit on Monday as talk about the actual presidential debate. And that's what makes it so powerful.
After all, how can the real debate compete with something like this?
I know the White House. I know the door out to the Rose Garden doesn't lock unless you pull it. I know the toilet in the Lincoln bedroom will run all night unless you jiggle that handle.
Jonathan Karl, ABC News, Washington.
You gotta jiggle it.
And we thank you for watching World News tonight. Watch our ABC News Yahoo live stream on abcnews.com. The anniversary of our partnership with Yahoo, and George and I and the whole team will be right here. Join us at 9 p.m. Eastern for this big debate. We'll see you then. This is World News. Tonight, the debate drama. The president tries to rally after Mitt Romney's big night. What insiders tell us today about why the president was off his game. Breaking news. Those loose passenger seats force American Airlines to ground 48 planes tonight, causing even more delays and canceled flights. Health alert. A mysterious outbreak of meningitis deaths, serious illness, and it's linked to a treatment for back pain, which was somehow contaminated. Real money. Can we put thousands of dollars in your pocket right now? Doubling the value of that old car in your driveway.
From ABC News, World Headquarters, this is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer.
Good evening. We begin with that question we heard asked across the country today. What was going on with President Obama at the big debate with Governor Mitt Romney last night? We have learned that 67.2 million Americans were watching last night, and Governor Romney came out swinging. The president seemed to be dodging the fight. With only 33 days to go until you voice your vote, why was the president off his game? Has the whole race changed today? We'll start with ABC's Jake Tapper. He is in Wisconsin traveling with the president tonight. Jake.
Good evening, Diane. Yes, that performance by the president that one former Democratic Party chairman referred to as lethargic, disinterested, and passive was the talk of the campaign today. Campaigns say they don't have any explanation as to why the president was the way he was, other than a general inclination to play it safe. But however cold his performance may have left even some supporters last night, today the president came out with some fire. Before a crowd of 12,000 in Denver, the president tried to turn his opponent's polished debate performance into proof of his phoniness.
When I got on the stage, I met this very spirited fellow who claimed to be Mitt Romney. But the real Mitt Romney has been running around the country for the last year, promising $5 trillion in tax cuts that favor the wealthy.
But in the audience, many of the president's supporters expressed bewilderment at his passive performance last night.
I felt like he should have been more aggressive. I didn't understand the strategy. I wondered what was going on.
Sources tell ABC News the president's strategy was a calculated decision not to risk appearing unpresidential by attacking Romney on, say, that video insulting 47% of the country as irresponsible victims. His aides advised him to focus on policy, such as Romney's effort to distance himself from his own tax proposal.
For 18 months, he's been running on this tax plan. And now, 5 weeks before the election, is saying that his big, bold idea is never mind.
But now top Democrats and liberal pundits bemoan a missed opportunity.
I don't know what he was doing out there. He had his head down. He was enduring the debate rather than fighting it.
It looked like Romney wanted to be there and President Obama didn't want to be there.
Some even blame Denver's high elevation for the president's performance.
When you go to 5,000 feet, exactly, and you only have a few hours to adjust,
that's interesting.
I don't know.
Last night, the president spent much time looking down at his podium, taking notes, and he squandered easy opportunities to go after Romney, such as this moment.
I like PBS. I love Big Bird. I actually like you too. But I'm not gonna keep on spending money on things to borrow money from China to pay for it.
A wide opening, but the president took more than 14 hours to come up with a comeback.
Thank goodness somebody is finally getting tough on Big Bird. It's about time.
Many top Democrats suggest that one of the problems may be one common to incumbents. The president has lived in a bubble for 4 years, surrounded by adulation, rarely challenged. The campaign today acknowledged that they were going to conduct a reassessment before the next debate. Diane?
All right, thank you, Jake. And what about Governor Romney and his day? ABC's David Muir traveling with the governor of Virginia. David.
Diane, great to see you from Virginia. Mitt Romney expected to appear here just moments from now. And beside him, Paul Ryan taking a break from his own debate prep to celebrate Romney's debate last night. And tonight, new questions about whether or not Romney is now trying to modify his message a bit with that much larger audience. Darting onto a different Denver stage today, Mitt Romney, his sons leading the applause, reveling in their father's debate performance.
The American people last night were given a choice.
Just how did Romney get ahead last night? By aggressively taking on the president, part of the Romney strategy going into the debate. Moments like this one, as the two debated to death, that bipartisan plan Simpson-Bowles that got nowhere in Washington.
But in my view, the president should have grabbed it. If you want to make some adjustments to it, take it, go to Congress, fight for it.
That's what we've done. Made some adjustments to it, and we're putting it forward before Congress right now. A $4 trillion plan.
But you've been president for 4 years.
But on that stage, in front of a much broader audience than usual, Romney doing something else last night, appearing more moderate than the red meat offered up on the campaign trail or during the primaries. On cutting taxes, even for the rich, the tone different. During the primary,
I said today that we're going to cut taxes on everyone across the country by 20%, including the top 1%.
Last night,
I will not reduce the share paid by high-income individuals. I know that you and your running mate keep saying that. I know it's a popular thing to say with a lot of people, but it's just not the case.
But on those regulations, Dodd-Frank, the new rules on the big banks meant to prevent another financial collapse, Romney often simply says,
I got other things to do. We got to repeal Sarbanes-Oxley. We got to repeal Dodd-Frank.
But last night,
you have to have regulation, and there's some parts of Dodd-Frank that make all the sense in the world.
And on the president's health care law, Romney usually simply says this.
If your priority is jobs, you got to get rid of Obamacare, and I
will. But last night, when asked what he would replace it with,
in fact, I do have a plan that deals with people with pre-existing conditions. That's part of my health care plan.
Now, we have asked the Romney campaign repeatedly if under Romney there'd be a federal law protecting people who don't have jobs but pre-existing conditions, allowing them to get insurance. We've been told that there would be no federal law. It would be turned over to the states. And Diane, I also wanted to point out that we hired a lip reader overnight to take a look at that moment on the stage, President Obama and Mitt Romney. In fact, take a look at this tonight. President Obama walking up to Mitt Romney saying, good job, good job. Romney saying, thank you, thank you. The president then saying, good, good, we'll do more of this. It would seem to appear that one of those men knew who won last night, Diane.
Okay, David, we were reporting, and time to bring in co-anchor of Good Morning America, anchor of This Week, George Stephanopoulos. Bottom line, George, did that night affect this race for sure?
Oh, no question about it. It got Mitt Romney back in this game. It gives him momentum. It gives him confidence. After a month of being on defense, he is on offense right now, and both campaigns expect the national polls to tighten over the next several days, maybe even see Mitt Romney go ahead. But here's the big question, Diane. Will you see the same kind of movement in these key battleground states, especially Ohio, where President Obama is ahead right now? These are the voters who get ads every day, who see the candidates every day. Will they move in the same direction? That's the big question.
So over these next days, how bad does the president think it was, and what's he going to do?
We saw a little indication right there. The president knows he lost last night. He came out fighting today, but he and his team know that he's got to bring it in that next debate. He's got to answer Mitt Romney face to face.
All right, George, thanks so much. And we have a footnote for everyone. You and I talked about it last night, about the star of last night's debate who was not on the stage. We are talking Big Bird. As Jake told us, under threat from Governor Romney of losing financing, a torrent of creative people took to the internet about the bird today, and these were our favorites. Will work for food. Today is brought to you by the letter U for unemployed. And this tweet directly from Big Bird, reminding us he's about 6 years old. Quote, my bedtime is usually 7:45, but I was really tired and fell asleep at 7. Did I miss anything? And now we turn, and we have breaking news to tell you about tonight. American Airlines grounding planes after 3 of their planes were forced to land because rows of seats were coming unbolted in midair. ABC senior national correspondent Jim Avila now telling us the latest. Jim.
Diane, American tonight grounded half its fleet of 757s, its domestic long-range workhorse, taken out of service for a second round of FAA-monitored fixes to prevent passenger seats from becoming dislodged in the air. At one point, one of them even turned over backwards into the row behind it. The airline's engineering team has decided the locking mechanism that secures the seats to the floor must be enhanced. It's another setback for American, which suffered record delays in September for what it blamed on labor troubles, claiming its pilots intentionally caused delays twice as often as its competitors, something the pilots' union has denied. The seat issue, though, ratcheted up the airline troubles to a safety issue. The seats on 3 flights came unhinged. Just yesterday, American said it had finished its inspections, but now is ordering mechanics to fix the seats again wherever the 48 planes involved land next, anywhere in the country, a move that will cause cancellations and more delays through Saturday for American. Diane?
All right, Jim, thank you on this breaking news. And now we have a number on financial news that is worth paying attention to. 2.69%. That is now the new record low for a 15-year fixed mortgage. The rate on a 30-year loan is down to 3.36%. That is good news for anyone looking to buy a home or refinance. We also have a note from overseas and the new threat that the turmoil in Syria will spread to a NATO ally, Turkey. Turkey unleashed a hailstorm of shells on Syria today in retaliation for a mortar attack from Syria that killed 5 civilians, including women and children. Today, Turkey's parliament approved, quote, further military strikes. The Turkish prime minister tweeting, we do not want war with Syria, but will protect our borders and retaliate when necessary. And back here at home, a health alert. The CDC warning about a growing outbreak of meningitis. At least 5 people have now died, 35 cases across 6 states, some patients suffering from stroke-like symptoms. The cause? Apparently tainted steroid shots for back pain. Nearly 9 million Americans use them. So which ones are believed to be putting people at risk? Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
Doctors worry this outbreak of fungal meningitis is spreading, potentially affecting more than 1,000 Americans recently treated for back pain with needles that were tainted by a fungus